Your Detroit Pistons have won 7 straight games after defeating the Los Angeles Clippers in what was a defensive battle for the majority of the game. A great win for the Detroit Pistons. We'll talk about how they got this win and how great it's been for the Pistons over the last month or so. We'll talk about all of it today's episode, Locked On Pistons Podcast. Let's go.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I'm your host, Kuka Hill. You can find me over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free to available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review. Now, whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on, that's another great way to support the podcast. Also, make sure you join us during our playback streams where we watch the Pistons games together with the Pistons community. I'll link it down below in the description. You can join us every Pistons game to watch all of it together as a community. Also, make sure you guys head over to LockedOnDaily.com, type in your email, and you'll get a Locked On Pistons daily newsletter every single day with your Locked On Pistons daily podcast. So, the Detroit Pistons have won 7 straight games. This was by far their toughest, their biggest battle yet over the last month, going against the Clippers to keep this streak going. This is a really good team they went against, and they were able to pull it out at home on the back end of a back-to-back later. I want to talk about how the bench came through for the team and how the bench is playing differently since getting Dennis a part of the team. And then also, it's time to give one of the veterans a lot of love and a lot of credit. Tobias, he got a lot of stuff at the beginning of the year. He deserves credit. We'll talk about him later on in the podcast. But, like I said, 7 in a row for the Pistons. This is amazing. This is the best the Pistons fan base, I feel like they've been feeling since that streak, like we talked about at the end of last episode, when they released Josh Smith and they won, 10 in a row or something, went on a crazy winning streak before Brandon Jennings, had that unfortunate injury, whatever. It was crazy. And this is obviously much more and much better than that, because this is something you're actually building towards and they're actually a playoff team. But this is the kind of hype that you had around that team at that time. The Pistons are playing some great basketball, and their defense is really, really shining through. Before we get to any other point of the game, though, I do want to play you guys this question. I was able to ask Cade. I was at the game today, and that's why we're getting a late episode. I apologize. It took me a while to get home. I'm recording this at 11:17 p.m. A lot later than even I would like it to be. But I want to play this question and answer from Cade, and then we'll get back and talk about his answer, and obviously the rest of this game as well.
Cade, before the year, I spoke with you a little bit about trying to turn some of those rim attempts into some other looks for yourself. You went to the floater a lot tonight, your hook shot a lot. Can you talk about how you working on that in-between games kind of open up your offensive game for yourself?
Yeah, it definitely has. Shooting the mid-range over and over and over. It's not the most, obviously. I mean, all analytics people don't really love that shot. I think it's great to have in the bag. But scoring at the rim, scoring from 3, those are the 2 high priority ones. And then whenever I don't have all that, I think just getting to the float has been, good money for me this year. So I'm continuing to work on it. I'm trying to get better and better at it. I don't think I'm, at the level I'm going to be at yet, but it's been a great addition to my toolbox, and I'm only gonna keep working on it.
That's good.
Appreciate y'all.
So, after asking Cade that, first of all, I loved the answer from Cade. I absolutely loved what he had to say. It was a really insightful answer. I really loved to hear about how he's going about attacking the game. Talked about how the analytics has affected his shot selection. I think all of that was really good. I loved that answer from Cade. But why I wanted to play that, not just because I was able to ask Cade a question. That's part of the biggest reason. I was happy I was able to finally get a question in with Cade. But this game, Cade had 32 points. But he shot 9 of 22 from the field. And he still had a very efficient game. Because like I mentioned in the video, like I mentioned in the question, before the year, I spoke with Cade a little bit, and I asked him about how he's going to be able to turn, what's his plan about turning some of those rim looks, how to improve his rim finishing, and maybe change some of those rim finishing attempts into something else. What's his thought process, and what did he work on to try to become more efficient around the rim? And he spoke about how he wants to start drawing more free throws, And he wants to start turning some of those tough, really hard rim attempts into floaters, a little 2 feet away. Instead of taking that extra dribble and going into a tougher defender and tougher shot, shortening it up, don't take that extra dribble and just go to the floater. And in this game, despite going 9 of 22 from the field, he shot 12 free throws in this game, got to the line, shot 10 of 12, went to the floater a ton, went to the hook shot a lot, posting up a Chris Dunn, posting up a James Harden, posting up even DJJ. Like, he's found different ways of, and that right there is what's made Cade such a different offensive player this year. We know he has the mid-range in his game. We know he has that. But like he mentioned, that's not something you want to rely on over and over and over again. It's not an efficient way of playing. And Cade is becoming more efficient this year because he's getting to the free throw line a little bit more, especially lately. He's getting to the free throw line a lot more. But on the season, a little bit more. And he's also going to the floater a lot more. He's been great on that. He's been going to the post up and settling for that 4 or 5 foot hook shot over smaller defenders, which has been great. His touch in that in-between area has been great for him. And in this game, that like we saw in this game and the last game, he mentioned it here as well. We've talked about it ad nauseum on the podcast for over a year now. The pull-up three-point shooting was going to unlock his game. And last game, we saw him hit those 7 threes. This game, he went 4 of 9 from deep. So yes, you can have a game where you shoot maybe poorly from the field when you shoot 9 of 22 from the field, but you shoot 45% from deep, and you get to the free throw line 12 times and make 10 of them, you end the game 32 points and 22 shots. That's still extremely efficient basketball there. So the idea, the way Cade's attacking the game, the way Cade is attacking his offensive game, the shots he's going after, has led to the Pistons being more efficient, having a better offense, Cade being much more efficient since the turn of the year, and being an all-NBA player over the last month and a half. He's been fantastic, and it has a lot to do with his shot selection, what kind of shots he's going after, and how it's opening up other parts of his game, and going to that pull-up three and that floater a lot more. Obviously, drawing free throws, too. That's huge. That right there is a huge part of his game. And you're going to be able to get to the free throw line 12 times. That's going to be great. And that's one of the biggest reasons why the Pistons are able to win this game. There's multiple reasons why. We're going to talk about all of them. This was a really scrappy, physical game the Pistons were a part of. Like, extremely physical game. Cade talked about that, too, after the game. He said that the game before was a lot free-flowing, a lot more free-flowing against the Hawks. He said this game there was a lot of grabbing, hugging, pushing. It was a lot more physical, and they were able to pull it out, and he was happy. You know, he feels like that's the kind of game the Pistons want to play. So, when you play a game like that, where you're struggling to score, really, the Pistons were not, they did not score a lot of points in this game. It was 106-97. That's like a 2014 score. This is a really big-time defensive game, and one of the reasons why the Pistons were able to pull this out over the Clippers, Cade got to the free throw line 12 times. The Clippers as a team got to the free throw line 19 times. The Pistons as a team got there 36 times. They drew free throws, they played physical, they got to the line, and they played incredible defense. Cade just had another fantastic game, though. 32 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 steals. Just incredible play, man. Continuing to lead the team. He got MVP chance during the game tonight when he dove on that loose ball and got an extra possession for the Pistons. The crowd went absolutely insane. You know, the best way to get, the Pistons fans, Detroit fans that is, hype, is to do some hustle play, some scrappy play. They absolutely will love you, especially if you're a franchise player doing the dirty stuff. Cade did that tonight. This was just a fantastic win for the Pistons, man. 7 games in a row for your Detroit Pistons. And again, like I mentioned, this was not just against a bottom feeder team. This was not just a team like, I don't know, the Hornets or the Wizards or the 76ers or the Nets. Like, this wasn't a horrible team they went against. This is the Clippers. They are a really good team. The Clippers are a really good defensive team. And the Pistons were able to claw this one out. And another one that came down to the wire. This was a close game midway through the fourth. At the end of the fourth, this was a close game. And the Pistons, yet again, finding themselves in clutch minutes, find a way to pull it out and get a win. These are all new developments, more things they are putting underneath, on their resume. More things they're putting on their resume of things they're learning how to do and in their skill box, in their toolbox of things that they are able to do now. They can win close games. They can blow teams out. They can play physical and win. They can play, offensive game and win. They can win in a multitude of ways, and we've seen that during this winning streak. The Pistons are playing great, man. They're playing like a top 7 basketball team. Since the change of the new year, they're being led by their All-NBA player, man. We talked about it last episode. I don't want to go into it anymore, but Cade's fantastic, dude. He's delivering on everything. He signed that Supermax in the offseason. We said, or not Supermax, the rookie max extension. When he signed that, we said he had to answer the call. Once you do that, now there's pressure, major pressure for you to deliver. And he's more than delivered this year. This has been an exceptional season from him and the Detroit Pistons. 7 games in a row, man. Let me know in the comment section down below if you guys saw 7 games in a row at any point for the Pistons this year. Also, let me know about how you guys feel about Cade's answer and how he talked about the way he's attacking his offensive game and how you feel about how that's changed, how he's attacking the game this year, and how that's helping the Pistons. Let me know. Comment section down below or over on Twitter at KukaHill. When we come back, Cade played tremendous. Cade was amazing. But there was a stretch in this game that was big time. And I think won the game for the Pistons. Newsflash, it was not the starting lineup. It was the bench unit. NBA fans, get ready. They swoosh, you save. Thanks to Dash Pass, every time a player drops 50 or more points in a game, you score a huge deal the next day. It's simple. When any player scores 50 or more in a game during the 24-25 NBA regular season, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order up to $10 off the next day from noon to midnight. And after an epic 50-point performance, celebrate by ordering wings, pizza, or burgers from your favorite spot delivered straight to your door. You can sign up for the Dash Pass and be ready to save. When any player scores 50 or more in a game, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order the next day up to $10 off. Just use promo code NBA50 from noon to midnight after a 50-point game on eligible orders at participating merchants. Must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more. Again, NBA 50, noon to midnight after a 50-point game during the NBA regular season. Check it out with the Dash Pass account. Visit DoorDash to learn, to learn more at DoorDash. I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. That's another great way to support the podcast. Listen, man, that ad read with DoorDash, too many S's. Too many S's back to back to back. DoorDash, Dash Pass, like, dude, you got me all over the place, man. But let's get back to the podcast. So look, like I mentioned, Cade was tremendous in this game. He was. And he led the way. We'll talk about Tobias later. But even more so than Tobias, there was a section in this game that I think really won the Pistons the game. Like, I think this section of the game and what these players did, I think was the determining factor and won the Detroit Pistons the game. It was still close after this. The Clippers ended up cutting the lead down and making it a game in the fourth. But without this stretch at the end of the third quarter, beginning of the fourth quarter by the bench unit, the Pistons do not win this game. With 2.5 minutes left in the game, it was a 1-point game. Derrick Jones Jr. hit a free throw of 75-74. Stu comes onto the floor. Beasley comes onto the floor. THJ comes onto the floor. And Ron Holland comes onto the floor for Asar Thompson. So you got Schröder in the game. You got Holland in the game. Hardaway, Harris, and Stu all in the game. From that moment on, this is what you get. You get an Asar dunk on a cut. You get Schröder getting to the free throw line, getting free throws. You get the first Stu rim protection rep at minute 20, which turns into a fast break dunk for the Pistons. Then you get another Stu block that turns into another Dennis Schröder layup. Then you get another defensive stop that turns into a transition 3 for Tobias. And within 2 minutes, it turns to a 10-point game for the Pistons going into the fourth quarter. It's a 10-point game. Then at the beginning of the fourth quarter, you get another block, this time from THJ. You get a block, transition, Ron Holland, layup. Then you get a turnover by Bogdanovich. Pistons come back down. They don't score, but another stop by the Pistons. The Pistons had about 6-7 straight stops at the end of the third quarter all the way to the start of the fourth quarter. So a good what was it, 2.5 minutes left in the third, all the way up until Cade came back in with 9.5 left. The Pistons extended the lead to 10 points. Cade comes in, hits a floater, the lead goes up to 11. And at that point, at the 9-minute mark, the Pistons are now dealing with a double-digit lead and just have to close the game out. Like I said, the Nets did make it close. They got the lead back down to 4. But the Pistons ended up holding on to this game because their bench is not, I almost said something that maybe would have been disrespectful, but their bench is no longer poor. Let's say that. Their bench is no longer just bad. The non-Cade minutes are no longer just terrible. Dennis Schröder, since coming back from the All-Star break, has been much, much, much better for the Detroit Pistons. Before the All-Star break, in his first few games with the Pistons, it was his first few games, but he wasn't getting to the paint. It looked like a little bit of a struggle for him. After coming back from All-Star break, especially in this game specifically against the Clippers, he was living in the paint, generating shots for the Pistons. He had 4 assists in this game. He was generating open looks for the Detroit Pistons. He got to the free throw line 8 times. So along with getting to the paint 4 times and creating looks for people, he's also getting to the paint and drawing free throws for himself. He also had a crazy finish late in that third quarter. A crazy drive and finish, floated up about 15 feet in the air, dropped it straight down. Great play by him. Schröder has been really good the last 2 games. I thought he was fantastic in this game. He had more points. He was more efficient the previous game. But in this game, he was living in the paint and getting the Pistons good offense and getting to the free throw line. And that's why the Pistons, in his minutes, were at plus 14. The Pistons bench didn't get obliterated. The Pistons bench survived. They outplayed the Clippers bench. And it was because partly, it's not all, but partly because of how well Schröder was playing as a point guard. And that's what the Pistons have needed all year. A point guard for when Cade's off the floor. Also, I do want to shout this out. We're going to stay on the bench, but I want to shout this out too. Schröder and his impact by being able to play him. There was a stretch when they were playing him, Cade, and Ausar together. And I loved that lineup. You have multiple guys that can ball handle, multiple guys that can run the offense and penetrate and get to the rim. And then also defensively, something I've noticed about Schröder, he is a torment. He likes to get under people's skin. He gets up in people's grill. So they try to set a bunch of screens to get Ausar off of James Harden. By the way, Ausar had James Harden in prison, in Guantanamo Bay. It was bad. 5 of 22 for James Harden. 3 of 11, minus 22 in this game. 7 turnovers. I mean, Ausar Thompson absolutely just obliterated this dude on defense. What Ausar was doing to him on the defensive end of the floor should be illegal in 50 states. It was terrible. It was crazy what he was doing to him. But you got Schröder, who, if you get Ausar off of James, now you got Schröder, who's getting up in his grill, denying him off ball. Cade, who's a good defender. You got guys being able to switch across the board, and all of them are able to handle, the point of attack if they are forced to do so. Something I've really, sorry about hitting my mic right there. It's something I really like that we've seen from Schröder. He's been a lot more active defensively than I thought he would be, that I thought he was. And I really like what he's been doing on that end of the floor. So he was one reason. But man, look, this dude only had 3 points in this game. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I think Isaiah Stewart might have been the best player on the bench tonight. Stu he has to be, at the very least, he has to be the best defensive backup 5 in the NBA. At the very least, the best defensive backup big in the league. I wanted to say one of the best backup 5s in general, and I think he is. But I think he probably is the best backup defensive big. The impact that he had at the end of that third quarter, at the beginning of the fourth quarter, was crazy. The defensive reps that he was having around the rim were crazy. His rim protection has been off the charts. He even when he doesn't get the block, he got 2 blocks at the end of the third. I'm telling you right now, he had about 3 or 4 other possessions from the third to the fourth where he's contesting guys at the rim, deterring shots, making shots hard, and just opening up opportunities for the Pistons to get out in transition where they are at their best. Cade spoke about it after the game. He said that he feels like the Pistons are at their best when they're able to get a stop and run. And that's 100% right. And a lot of it, obviously, has been helped with Ausar and Duren's improvement. But when those guys are off the floor and Stu's on the floor, Stu has been tremendous, and he was amazing in this game. He had a stat line, 3 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 2 blocks. It's nothing crazy. He's not putting up crazy box score numbers. But I promise you, if you're watching the game, you are seeing his impact. His defense is otherworldly. He has been a tremendous rim protector. It's crazy how good he's been. Zubac, I'm telling you, I'm right there at the game. I'm close. I'm close to the court. You get to see like the mannerisms, the thing that goes on in between the plays and stuff. Zubac was constantly trying to go at Stu, and the Clippers bench was talking to Stu, like calling him small or saying that he can't handle Zubac. He bullied Zubac on defense. Zubac kept trying his best to score on Stu, and Stu was having none of it. The last stop he got on him in the fourth quarter, Stu got a stop on the right block. Zubac missed another shot. Stu looks over at the bench, at the Clippers bench, talked to him for a good 5 seconds. Trash talked him. And I would have too. Stu, I don't care that Zubac ended the game with 13 points, 15 rebounds. In the minutes against Stu won those minutes. He's been tremendous, man. He's been great as a backup 5. He's one of the best backup 5s in the NBA. I think he's probably the best defensive big. Best defensive backup big in the league. My goodness, that's a mouthful. But then obviously you got good contributions from everyone else as well. Malik played well. 3 of 8 from deep. Didn't have his best game, but still hit 3 threes. Hit an important 3 in the fourth quarter that really pushed the momentum in the Pistons' direction. And Ron Holland just giving that constant energy, getting those steals, getting out in transition, getting to the free throw line, scoring around the basket. This team, I'm telling you, I said this in the last episode. Cade is spearheading it. He's leading them. Yes, 100%. But this team really is more of a well-rounded team than they've ever been, bro. You're getting impact from everyone. Like, we're going to talk about Tobias later, but look, dude, look at Asar's box line or box score. 5 of 7 from the floor, 10 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 4 steals, and 2 blocks. The dude had 6 stocks in 26 minutes. Like, dude, Duren continues to play incredibly well. His effort, I haven't seen him play with this much effort consistently at any point in his career. The last month, he's been giving the most effort consistently on a play-to-play basis than he's ever given. 12 points, 19 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, and a block. He's been active nonstop. He's been fighting his bleep off on the glass, on the defensive end of the floor. The Pistons won a defensive battle in this game. We talked about what Cade did. We talked about what Stu did. We talked about Schröder did. We talked about what Holland did. This is multiple guys all finding ways to contribute to win after win after win after win. And their franchise guy is leading it, but he has guys that are able to now follow him and accept their roles and play to their best abilities. This team is incredibly fun to watch, man, and they're all buying in. 7 in a row. That's hard to do in the NBA. I don't care who you play. It's hard to win 7 games in a row, and the Pistons just did it. Great game from Cade. Great game from the bench, dude. The bench won them this game in that stretch at the end of the third, early fourth. And another player who came through for the Pistons and honestly has been coming through for the Pistons and deserves love, Tobias Harris. I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. Look, man, Tobias Harris at the beginning of the year was struggling. He was. And we called him out for it. I was talking about it on the podcast a lot. Pistons fans were talking about it a lot in the community. And I think Tobias was aware of it as well. Tobias was not playing his best to start the season. He was struggling. But it's been way past time to start giving Tobias his credit and his love. We've talked about on the podcast how much of an impact he's been for these guys off the court. I can't explain to you guys, I can't put into enough words how impactful he has been as a veteran off the court. I talk with people within the organization. You talk with people who are close to some of the players. Talk to some of the players. Everyone says the same thing about Tobias. He has been revolutionary for them in the locker room, off the court. They are not winning this many games without his presence in the locker room and off the court. But recently on the court, he's looking like that guy that you signed in the offseason. He is looking like that guy that you went out and signed and paid all that money to come in and be this kind of vet for them. Over the last 11 games, not including this game, but over the last 11 games, Tobias, 17.5 points a game, 5.0 rebounds, 1.5 steals, 1.5 assists a game, 55% from the field. Now, he's still struggling a little bit from beyond the arc, but he's shooting incredibly well inside the arc, 23% from deep, but 91% from the free throw line. He's hitting timely buckets for the Pistons. His post-up game at the beginning of the year, it was around like the 10th percentile. Last I checked, it was hovering around the 50th percentile now. It's going up and up and up. He's feeling much more comfortable from the mid-range, posting up against mismatches, hitting timely buckets for the Pistons. And I think, to be honest, he's been way better defensively than I thought he would be. He's been way more engaged and has been giving way more effort defensively than I thought he would have. Like, straight up. He deserves credit for that. And then in this game against the Clippers, 9 of 13 from the field, 2 of 3 from deep, 20 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, a team high plus 18 in this game. He also played, by the way, Uncle T, old man Tobias, played the most minutes in this game for the Pistons. He played 38 minutes in this game. And in those 38 minutes, they won his minutes by 18. By 18. He has been so incredibly impactful for the Detroit Pistons. It's absurd. We knew coming into the year that what the Pistons needed was a modern 2025 four-man. They actually need a nowadays modern power forward. And they got that with Tobias. But he's not only been great off the court, he's been great on the court recently. They don't win these games without him. If you take Tobias off this team, I'm telling you, they are 10 games worse. Like, he has been insanely impactful for them. Insanely impactful. When they're struggling to score, Cade spoke about this as well after the game. When they're struggling to score and they're going through a drought, Cade can't get a bucket. He's getting too much defensive attention, whatever. They go to Tobias, and he gets them an easy bucket. He gets them a bucket to slow it down, get momentum going back their way, to quiet down the crowd or get the crowd going, depending if they're away or home, and just changes the game. I can't explain to you guys how many times that's happened over this 7-game win streak, where Tobias has hit a key shot for them, multiple key shots for him. Again, he was not good at the beginning of this year. He was struggling. But he's been fantastic for them as of late. And he's showing why the Pistons went out and signed him. I can't believe he played the most minutes for the Pistons. The only person who played more than Tobias in this game was James Harden. So 2 old guys, actually. Respect to James Harden, too, for getting 39 minutes. And Tobias isn't old. Tobias is just, I guess, older in NBA years, I guess. But he's one of the older guys on the team. Actually, he is the oldest one now, right? Is it him or Schröder? I guess I can check that real quick. But either way, he's one of the oldest guys on the team, and he led them in minutes, and his impact is felt. He's been great. So Tobias is 32. How old is Schröder? Is Schröder older than him? I don't think THA is. Yeah, I think Tobias is the oldest one on the team. That's crazy. The oldest player on your team leads you in minutes. Him and THA are both 32. Either way, Tobias has been great, man. Give him love. Give him some respect. Honestly, I'm not going to lie to you, man. I was joking at the beginning of the year when I said I think he's going to retire with the Pistons. I want him to retire with the Pistons now. Like, the post-game videos seeing from him, celebrating Pistons win, doing the whole the Pistons won again, seeing how much his teammates love him on and off the court. Like, this is a dude that can easily, seamlessly, like next year, if the Pistons go and get their starting forward of the future, just seamlessly goes to being like the bench guy. Like, I feel like he would be perfectly fine doing that. Like, he instantly goes to being a really good, impactful, off-the-bench guy for you, and he can provide in those minutes, and he's the kind of veteran that would welcome it, and everyone would love him for it. Tobias has been great, man. Give him his love. Give him his love. 7 straight games for the Detroit Pistons. Great game against the Clippers. Great game overall from this team. They get a break. They get a day's rest. After a great back-to-back showing, they won an offensive-heavy game against the Hawks and then won a defensive battle against the Clippers. This team is showing you they can win in a multitude of ways. Let me know in the comment section down below how you guys feel about the Pistons at this point. 7 straight wins. Thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. free and available on all your podcast platforms. Hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel. Leave us a 5-star review, whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. And until next time, I will see you guys later. Stay safe out there. Until next time, peace out, everybody.